We're building these incredible machines, right? Machines designed for pure logic. But what happens when when we accidentally teach them our own worst habits? That's the huge, messy, and absolutely fascinating problem of AI bias, and today we're going to break it all down.
So, can a machine really be biased? I mean, it sounds like a total contradiction, doesn't it? Aren't machines supposed to be perfectly objective? Well, as you're about to see, the code is only half the story. The real question is, what are we feeding them?
Yeah, the whole idea behind AI, the big promise, is that it's supposed to be this perfectly logical thing, driven by pure data. You know, a tool that can make decisions that are way more consistent, more reproducible, and, well, less biased than we are.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. AI doesn't learn in some sterile, perfect vacuum. Nope, it learns from the world that we built. It's learning from the giant digital footprint of our entire history, all our conversations, all our decisions.
And in doing that, it inherits our ghosts, all those quiet, implicit biases that are just woven into the very fabric of our history, our language, and our society.
Okay, so first up, let's dive into what we're calling AI's human blind spot. This is all about the problem of unintended prejudice, and it's where things get really interesting.
So on one hand, you have the promise, right? This idea of an objective, data-driven, totally fair system. But then, there's the reality. And the reality is that AI can actually amplify our historical and human biases. It can become a megaphone for the exact problems we're hoping to solve. Let me show you what I mean with some real-world examples. Okay, check this out. This number is from the famous gender shade study at MIT, and honestly, it's just shocking. They found that leading facial recognition AI had an error rate of almost 35% when trying to identify dark-skinned women. For white men, it was nearly perfect. So what gives? It's simple, really. The data it was trained on was just overwhelmingly full of lighter-skinned men.
And this isn't just a problem with images. Take a look at this. Amazon had to scrap an experimental hiring tool because it taught itself to be sexist. No, seriously. It learned from a decade of the company's own hiring data that men were preferred. So it started penalizing any resume that even included the word women's, like Women's Chess Club, or mentioned attending an all-women's college. Wild, right?
So all of this begs a really important question. How does this bias even get into the system in the first place? Let's trace it back to the source.
I think the best way to think about it is this. AI is basically a digital mirror. It's not inventing these biases out of thin air. It's just reflecting the society that creates it, flaws and all. Whatever biases exist in our world, in our data, get reflected right back at us.
And this bias isn't just a single mistake. It can creep in at pretty much any stage of the AI pipeline. It can start right at the beginning, with the data you choose to collect. Then it can happen when humans are labeling that data. It can get even worse during the model training, and it can still pop up after the AI is out in the real world.
And this takes a few different forms. You've got selection bias. That's when your data just doesn't represent the real world. Think back to that facial recognition example. Then there's stereotyping bias, where the model just ends up repeating harmful stereotypes. Confirmation bias is a big one too. That's where the AI just reinforces old prejudices it finds in the data. And then there's one that's on us. Automation bias. That's our own human tendency to just, blindly trust what the machine says, even when it feels wrong.
Okay, so it sounds a bit grim, but here's the good news. We are definitely not helpless here. There are absolutely ways to get in there and fix the code. Let's start by looking at some of the technical solutions that are being worked on.
So developers basically have three main opportunities to fight bias. First is pre-processing. That's where you try to clean up and adjust the data before the model even sees it. Then there's in-processing. This is where you actually change the training process itself, telling the algorithm to prioritize fairness. And finally, you have post-processing. This is after the model is built, and you basically adjust its final answers to correct for any bias that made it through.
But here's the thing, just fixing the code isn't a silver bullet. It's not going to solve everything. Maybe the most powerful solution of all is about adding that human touch and really understanding the critical role of human oversight.
This whole idea is called human-in-the-loop AI, or HITL, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's about creating a partnership where the machine does the heavy lifting, the speed, the scale, but humans are right there to provide the context, the judgment, and the ethical oversight that a machine just can't, especially when the decisions really, really matter.
And let me be clear, this is not some fringe idea. Just look at these numbers. The consensus among people who actually build this stuff is overwhelming. A whopping 86% say that human involvement, particularly in labeling the data, is absolutely essential. Not just important, essential.
And the proof is in the pudding. It really works. This quote comes from a real-world project where they were trying to extract data from invoices. By simply adding a human review step for the AI's less confident guesses, they boosted their accuracy from 82% all the way up to a stunning 98%. And get this, it also made the whole process faster. So the humans weren't just fixing mistakes, they were teaching the AI to get better. This concept is so critical, in fact, that it's actually being written into law. Major regulations, like the huge EU AI Act, now make it a legal requirement to have meaningful human oversight for any AI system that's considered high risk. We're talking about things like AI used in hiring, law enforcement, or medicine.
So we've talked about fixing the code and adding human oversight. But there's a third, super important layer to all this, actually writing the rules for AI and setting up some clear societal guardrails. And this effort is already well underway. This timeline shows you how this global conversation has been picking up speed. Just a few years ago, it started with these high-level principles from big groups like the OECD and UNESCO, but now it's evolving into much more concrete, actionable stuff, like the AI Risk Management Framework from NIST here in the US.
This table gives you a really quick lay of the land. You've got groups like the OECD, kind of setting the big ethical goals. Then you have NIST in the US, which provides a practical how-to guide for companies to manage their risks. And then there's ISO, which is creating actual standards so a company can get a certification, basically a stamp of approval, for using AI responsibly.
Okay, so that brings us to the big picture, the takeaway. What does the future of fair AI look like? And what's the one thing you should really remember from all of this?
To wrap things up, I want to come full circle. We've talked a lot about fixing the machine, but this last number is a powerful reminder that our brains are a huge part of the puzzle. One study found that 78% of people just went with what the AI said without even questioning it. We're so quick to trust the machine that we forget about our own cognitive biases.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? AI is a mirror. It just reflects us. So, the ultimate question isn't just how do we fix the machine, it's how do we build a better reflection? How do we make sure that the AI we create reflects the very best of us, and not our worst?